right. Now, before we go into the preparation step, I want to give you an overview of the risk management framework and what we are trying to do. What we are trying to do here is that we are trying to get what we call an ATO, authority to operate, as I said earlier on. Now, the 7th step, that is how I encourage my students to go about it. Now, during the step 0, we call it the preparation step or the agenda setting. During this stage, what we are doing is that we are developing our risk management strategy. We are assigning various roles and responsibilities. Now, we use the NIST 837 as a guide to be able to do this. And we can also use the NIST 830 to be able to do this. After we have done that, we move to the categorization. What we do during categorization? Now, we use the FIPS 199 and the NIST 860 Volume 2 to do that. Now, we categorize our system based on our security objectives. And we are trying to determine the sensitivity level of our system, whether it's a low, moderate, or high. After categorization, we move to what we call the selection of controls. If our system is being selected as a low or as a moderate, we now have to go and select the controls that match up to the sensitivity level. So if our system is a low, we go into a low. If it's a moderate, we select our moderate controls. If it's a high, we select our high controls. Now, after we have done that, then now we need to tailor down the controls. Remember, we have selected the baseline. We need to tailor down our controls, whether they are system-specific, common controls, or hybrid controls. And we use our NIST 853B and FIPS 200 to do our selection of controls. Then we move to the next stage, that is the implementation stage. During the implementation stage, this is where we put together our whole SSP. Now, we use our NIST 818 as a guide for our SSP. Then, we write an implementation statement using our NIST 853 revision 5. And this is where we write how the controls are supposed to be implemented, installed, and used. Now, after we have done that, we move to the next stage, that is the assessment, and that is the step 4. At the assessment stage, they are using 3 methods to be able to determine whether the controls are being implemented correctly and operating as they are intended. Now, this is where they are doing control testing, where they are testing the actual control. They are doing the examination, where they are reviewing policies and procedures to make sure that whatever we say we have implemented is matching up to what we have written. Then they are doing interviewing, where they are interviewing control owners and subject matter experts to make sure that the controls have been implemented effectively. Now, they will document all their results in what we call an SAR. What is an SAR? A security assessment report. And the ones that failed, they will document in what we call a POEM, or the plan of action and milestone. So here we have our SSP, our SAR, and our POEM. And we move these documents to our next stage, that's our authorization stage. This is where the authorizing official will determine whether he's going to give us an ATO, an interim ATO, or a DATO, that is a denial ATO, which means that our system doesn't qualify to get an ATO because of maybe some of the controls that failed. Or we have implemented the right controls, but some of them we need to make some changes to it. So we get what we call an interim ATO, or we get the actual ATO when our system qualified. Then afterwards, we move to the continuous monitoring stage. Now, the continuous monitoring stage, this is where the controls that we have assessed that are working effectively, whether the ones that were satisfied, or the one that passed the assessment, or the one that failed, all of them are being monitored. We are making sure that we are correcting all the mistakes, or we are making sure that we are remediating all the findings that came in, that are in the POEM. And we are also tracking the ones that actually passed to make sure that they continue to work effectively. We use the NIST 837 as a guide to be able to do that. Now let's head into the preparation step.